the divine light that is obscure to the rational faculty, but that enlightens our higher nature. The light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehend it not. Reason recoils from this statement with innumerable questions. What is this darkness? Is it conscious that it should comprehend anything? What sort of light would be capable of shining in darkness without transforming at least that part of the darkness in which it shines into light? Does this light shine only at night? And if so, why only then? The solution is that to divine light, even daylight seems darkness. The sun itself, like the moon, which shines only by reflected light from the sun, is but a kind of reflection of that cosmic light, which being immaterial is invisible to the eyes, but which is the great source of all material reality. In Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramhansa Yogananda describes his youthful visit to Ram Gopal, the sleepless saint, who lived in the vision of the hidden light. Around midnight, Yogananda wrote, Ram Gopal fell into silence, and I lay down on my blankets. Closing my eyes, I saw flashes of lightning. The vast space within me was a chamber of molten light. I opened my eyes and observed that same dazzling radiance. The room became a part of the infinite vault, which I beheld with my interior vision. Why don't you sleep? Sir, how can I sleep in the presence of lightning blazing, whether my eyes are shut or open? You are blessed to have this experience. The spiritual radiations are not easily seen. The saint added a few words of affection. This is the light that shineth in the darkness. It has been described variously in the great scriptures. In the Bhagavad Gita, the 11th chapter, the devotee Arjuna is given an experience of the infinite state and exclaims in awe, if there should rise suddenly within the sky sunbirth of 1,000 suns, flooding earth with beams undeemed of, then might be that Holy One's majesty and radiance dreamed of. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Oh, oh, oh.
Now we'll continue with another beautiful reading from Whispers from Eternity. This is a book of prayer poems and demands by Paramhansa Yogananda. This week I picked out, Thou didst reveal thy silver rays of speaking silence. Divine Mother, I heard thy voice in the speaking fragrance of the rose. I heard thy voice in the lisping whispers of my devotion. I heard thy voice beneath the din of my noisiest thoughts. It was thy love which spoke through the voice of friendship. I touched thy tenderness in the softness of the lily. O Divine Mother, break through the dawn and show thy face of light. Break through the sun and show thy face of power. Break through the night and show thy mooned face. Break through my thoughts and show thy face of wisdom. Break through my feelings and show thy face of love. Break through my pride and show thy face of humbleness. Break through my wisdom and show thy face of perfection. As I called to thee in the wilderness of my loneliness, thou didst burst through the dawn to greet me with thy joy. Thou didst emerge from the molten door of the sun to invigorate me through the pores of my life. Thou didst tear away the night of my ignorance to reveal thy silver rays of speaking silence. So our topic today, as this beautiful statement, the light came into the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. As I was preparing this talk, I thought about all the times that the light shone in my life, and yet I was totally unaware of it, for I was lost in thought, in distraction, agitation, in entertainment. I was completely unaware of the light, but that light walked with me in my sorrows, my joys, my pains. It was part of my journey, and it's part of all of our journeys, from the time we arrive on this planet to the time we leave, and then thereafter. It is said that all that we notice, all that we have in life is what we notice. And what we're trying to notice is the subtlety beyond the perception of solidity. And that subtlety enriches and expands our experience. The reading today, we heard young Mukunda being unable to sleep in the presence of the sleepless saint because he was perceiving all those beautiful lights. Those spiritual radiations, as the sleepless saint said, are hard to perceive by the average eyes. The eyes that are dulled, clogged with ego consciousness. Through the senses that are immersed in the world of matter, all that beauty is not available to us. There is a story about a young man who decides to devote his life to spirituality. This was a young budding yogi, and he asked his father, "Father, where should I go? Should I go to the Himalayas and find a guru and sit at the guru's feet and have the guru show me the ways back to truth, back into the light?" And the father said, "No, no, no. I would like you to first go meet the king." And the son was taken aback. The king? What can the king teach me about spirituality? The king is immersed in the world of matter. He lives on the lap of luxury. People waiting on him, hand and foot. What could I learn from the king? I don't want to go to the king. And the father insisted and insisted. And he said, "Give the king a chance. Just go and see him once. And then if you need further instruction, you need to meet other more advanced beings, as you say, in the Himalayas, you can go there." So the young man comes to the king and lets the king know that he's there at the insistence of his father, because he did not choose to be there visiting the king. He's a yogi. He wants to follow the spiritual life. He is not interested in the world of matter, and much less of all the luxury that the king lives in. So the king said, "Well, before we continue our conversation, I would like you to fill this lamp with oil. Fill it to the brim. And I'd like you to walk around all the chambers of my palace and not spill a drop." And the young man said, "Yeah, sure, I can do that." So he was offered this lamp. It was filled with oil to the brim. The lamp was put on a tray, and off went the young man. He visited every chamber in the palace. It took him several hours to return to the king. And once he returned, the king told him, well, what were you thinking? Were you amazed at my beautiful chambers? Isn't this a lovely palace? What were your thoughts, young man, as you walked around my palace? He said, Your Majesty, I had no thoughts. All I could do was focus on not spilling a drop of oil from this lamp. And the king said, and that is just the way I live my life too. I am involved in a lot of earthly responsibilities. I have servants, families. I have all kinds of issues to deal with, but I never ever take my mind off the divine. My mind is always focused on the divine. So regardless whether we live in the lap of luxury or in great need, where do we place our attention? Where are we putting that attention? Whatever we focus on becomes our reality. We just need to keep the filters of our consciousness clear so that light can shine through and we can perceive that majesty, those spiritual radiations, that reality that lies beyond the world of matter. But sometimes that filter is clogged by years of living in ego consciousness. And sometimes the filter is so clogged, it needs total replacement. But it's our work. That is our work as spiritual aspirants, as truth seekers, to keep polishing the light, the mirror of our consciousness, so that light can flow through and we can live a more inspired life. We can live in the light, as the sleepless saint was offering that light experience to Yogananda. I'm sure we can all look back on our own journeys and we can see how far we've come. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe even a year ago. We've all journeyed closer to the light. And it's taken a while. I wish it were a faster journey, but it takes a while. And I hear many people saying, why didn't these teachings come into my life before? Oh, I would have gotten a head start with this and I wouldn't be so behind. They didn't come into your life before because you were not ready. Even if you had had them, you could have not used them. You were not ripe and ready for them. How many people have the book Autobiography of a Yogi on a coffee table or on a shelf for years and years and years until they crack open that book? And then once they open it, maybe a page or two, maybe a chapter, and that's enough. The book is closed for another couple of years until they come back. But you come back to things when you're ready. When you're not ready, it doesn't happen. It's happening now. When you're ready, when you're ripe. This is the time. This is the place. This is the vastness, right where you are. There are two disciples of a yogi who are arguing about what the best way to find God is. What is the best path to truth? And one disciple says, the way to truth is through effort and energy. You have to put out effort, you have to put out energy in order to come to the truth and achieve God. And the other disciple says, well, I totally disagree. That sounds like very egoic to me. I'm putting out effort, I'm doing it. The way to God is through surrender and letting go. That's how we achieve the divine. And the other one couldn't buy that. He said, no. So they argued and argued until they said, let's go to the guru and see what the guru says. So off they go. They come to their guru, and the first disciple expounds his point of view. He's very eloquent. And at the end of his speech, he tells the guru, Guru, is this the way to God? And the Guru says, you're right. Then he gives time to the other disciple. The other disciple very eloquently expresses his point of view. And when he ends, he asks the Guru, Master, is this the way to God? And the Guru says, you're right. And there was another disciple who was within hearing range, and he walks up to the master and says, Master, but they can't both be right. And the master turns to that disciple and says, you're right too. So, what do we learn from this? It's great to have rules. It's great to have directives. Follow this path, do this, not that, think this way, not that way, go about it in this way, and follow it and follow it and follow. Voila, mission accomplished. That is not the spiritual path. Spiritual path is about tools, using tools and not rules. When we use rules, we become very dogmatic. It's this way, and hence if it's not this way, you must be wrong. I'm right. That's old Kali Yuga age. We have to step back when we see ourselves becoming too rule-ridden. Step back and let the winds of grace blow through your consciousness. Yogananda never gave direct rules to his disciples. The case in point was Sister Gyanamata, his most developed and most advanced female disciple. And she seldom had any discourse, direct speech with the master. Every time he came into the room, she would stand. She always remained silent in the back of the room if there was a satsang. She never spoke. But she was in direct attunement. Her consciousness and the Guru's consciousness were totally attuned. And that's where she was receiving the teachings, in that interior silence. And that's what's been asked of us, to be in tune with the light, in tune with the divine, in tune with the Guru. That's the starting point, that's the midpoint, that's the end point. Being in direct experience. So you can receive the teachings, you can receive the light that flows into your consciousness without any obstacles, without any clogs that might be in that filter. The light of inspiration is constantly flowing through us. We need to be open to receive it. The light of inspiration flowed through Yogananda, and he was able to download the gifts the light had to offer the world through Yogananda. Hence all the wonderful work he left us. The light flowed through Swami Kriyananda, and he downloaded what the light wanted to offer the world through him. What is the light trying to offer the world through you? Are you in tune? Are you listening? Whatever we practice is going to bring us a harvest. And we want our harvest to offer us the joys of being, not the burden of delusion, more and more delusion. And that harvest is created by the choices we make. Moment to moment, we're making choices. So I invite you to close your eyes now and bring forth a situation, a difficult situation, not a traumatic situation, nothing major, just a difficult situation, a nuisance, for example, something that gets your blood pressure moving up and gets you a little bit agitated or vexed or frustrated. Bring forth the situation or bring forth the person that this usually happens for you. So in your mind's eye, visualize that person or visualize that situation. The situation is the same as it's always been. The person is acting the same as he or she always acts. But now visualize yourself choosing differently. In that choice lies your power. You can open your eyes now. That choice that we make moment to moment throughout our lives is our spiritual journey. Yogananda had his, Buddha has his, Jesus had his. You are having your unique spiritual journey, and it looks just like that, what you visualized right there. Not in the Himalayan mountains, right there where you were. Now we can say, the light shineth in the darkness, but this time the darkness comprehended it. Or we can use the statement from the Bible, I was blind, and now I can see. What are the pathways for your own personal transformation? Yogananda said that we go through these 4 states on a regular basis every day. Happiness, we feel happy when our desires are fulfilled. We feel unhappy when our desires are thwarted. We feel bored when we're neither happy nor unhappy. We're just stuck without any joy or contentment. And peaceful. In that peace is contained pleasure, pain, and boredom. When we anchor ourselves in that peace, we can go through those moments of pleasure, but never forget the undercurrent of peace. So is it with pain. We can go through pain and difficulties as we sit on the throne of peace. And in that heart of peace, sorrow can never fill the heart of peace, for there are no walls to contain it. The heart of peace is expansive, and it can hold the sorrows of the world without getting lost in it. And then boredom is just a ripple on the lake of peace. That peace is born of prayer, devotion. It's born of attunement. It's born of meditation. That peace is never ruffled. It experiences it all. Just as the light is never affected or diminished by all the changes in this world. Light and darkness coexist, just as our humanity and our divinity coexist. They live side by side. It's just a matter of where you choose to take a seat. You can sit here, or you're going to sit here. What choices are we making? Where are we placing our attention? Where are we investing our energy? Once there was a businessman walking around Mount Washington, which was the headquarters of Yogananda's teachings, his organization. And as they were walking the grounds, he asked Yogananda, what are the assets of this organization. Yogananda turned to the businessman and said, Divine Mother is our stocks and bonds. Yogananda, an avatar, invested in Divine Mother's treasury. That'd be a good idea for us to follow suit. Right now, we're investing in her treasury. We're here at Sunday service. Those of you who are here in the chapel, those of you who are online. And why do we come to Sunday service? What is the power that flows through those masters on the altar, that fills our tanks, and reboots us, and allows us to remember our greatest identity, our universal self, our divinity? But what happens the rest of the week when we're not at Sunday service? What are those things that bring you closer to God? What are your pathways home? What are the things that make your heart be filled with joy? What are the things that bring song to your soul? Go in that direction. That's where it's at. Then you start sowing the seeds of good harvest, and the fruits of your labor will be fragrant and sweet. That's where we invest in Divine Mother, in our divinity. What would it be like to be awake? Not think about what it would be like being awake, but just being awake now. You bring nothing with you. You just feel that energy moving up through the spine, out the spiritual eye, expanding your consciousness. Being in that direct experience, moment to moment. And like those two disciples, for our path, yes, we need personal commitment. We need to put in energy and effort. And yes, we need to let go and let God. What are the choices that we are making going forward? So the light keeps coming into our lives, but this time we keep comprehending it. So then we can see, we understand, and ultimately we know. Now we have our offertory.
Please take what you'd like to give and place it in your right hand. And pray with me, Divine Mother.
Divine Mother,
We offer to thee the fruits of our labors.
offer to thee the fruits of our labors.
Bless this offering,
Bless this offering,
that it serve as a channel
that it serve as a channel
of thy light to truth-seeking souls everywhere.
of thy light to truth-seeking souls everywhere.
Song of the Nightingale. Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Teach my heart to impart everywhere your delight. Sing of moon rays on the rain, sing that love's not in vain. Every grief, every wrong has its ending in song. Nightingale, nightingale, how to spin clouds of gloom into light. Without silence, what is song? Without night, where is dawn? Were it not for men's woes, who would smile at her rose? Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Let each tone silence groan, earth and heaven unite. Morning laughter, evening tears, snow and blossoms all fade. Joy must sing in the night to face change